On the night of October 5th, 2022, 20-month-old Quinton Simon mysteriously vanished from his home just outside of Savannah, Georgia.
Walked outside. There was none of that. None of it at all. Whatever happened, somebody picked that baby up out of that playpen and they took it with them. That's what they did. There's no way he can get out of that playpen on his own.
However, as the investigation unfolded, chilling secrets unraveled a deeply buried and horrifying truth.
I know you know what happened. I know you know where Quinton is.
I don't know where he is. I don't know where he is.
And it's why you're gonna have to talk about what happened.
I'm telling you.
And where you took Quinton.
I didn't take him anywhere.
Okay?
I didn't take him anywhere.
At around 9 a.m. on October 5th, 2022, 20-year-old Leilani Simon woke up and discovered her 20-month-old toddler, Quinton Simon, was missing from his playpen. Leilani was a mother to 3 children, 2 of whom were still asleep in their beds, but there was no sign of Quinton. Panicked, Leilani called and passed the news to her live-in fiancé Daniel Youngkin, aka Danny. Danny immediately rushed home from his workplace, and minutes later, the couple called emergency services. Chatham County officers were dispatched to the scene at 535 Buckhalter Road, where they met Leilani Simon.
I woke up about 10 o'clock because I was worried about 6, so within a 3-hour period, stepped out the front door, so lucky my son is not in his playpen.
What was your son was wearing?
He was wearing Sesame Street, like the Toddler shirt, and I'm running black shorts, and like jean shorts.
Leilani told the officers that the front door of the house was wide open as she woke up, and Quinton was missing.
Now, how open was the door? Just about a foot.
Open enough that I see that open my eyes, I can see outside my house.
Officers promptly relayed the details to local media outlets and state troopers, initiating a search for the missing 20-month-old toddler. Officers noted that there were 3 exit doors in the residence. 2 opened at the back through the living and dining room, and 1 opened at the front, which Leilani claimed to have found open. Leilani's fiancé, Danny, informed officers that he left the house around 5 a.m. for work. He mentioned that, in his hurry, he didn't check on the children before leaving. Since Leilani was planning to stay home that day, he texted their babysitter Michelle not to bother picking the kids up from home. The gravity of the case quickly drew the attention of the FBI, who stepped in to gather all possible details. Fearing this may have been a kidnapping, investigators knew that time was of the essence if they hoped to get Quinton back safely. In order to piece together the last 24 hours of the family's activities, detectives questioned Leilani. She claimed she went to bed around 12 the previous night and woke up shortly after 9 in the morning. Leilani also mentioned that she had undergone wisdom tooth extraction the day before, on October 4th, and following that, she had remained inside the house since then. But things were not entirely how they sounded. By now, the scene had been thoroughly examined by officers, with the pictures of the house, vehicles, and other property being shared throughout the investigative team. While the on-scene detectives continued gathering information about Quinton's last known activities, a lead came through from the Chatham County Police Office. One of the investigators working from the office had been reviewing the flock camera system installed at the major intersections to spot license plates. The officer ran the vehicle numbers associated with the names of Leilani and Daniel through the database. This action turned out to be pivotal to the case, as Leilani's Dodge Charger was seen on the move in the early hours of the same day, which directly contradicted her story of being at home all night. This surprising discovery was immediately shared with the on-scene detectives who confronted Leilani.
Did y'all go anywhere last night or yesterday with Big that maybe he could have followed you or something like that? Y'all didn't go anywhere?
Not kids, no.
No, just maybe you yourself.
Yeah, I know, because I got my tooth pulled yesterday, so I went to the Oregon, that was it.
2 o'clock yesterday afternoon?
No, like morning, wise, because I couldn't go to sleep.
Okay, so where'd you go?
Right up the road right here, got Chevron. I met my friend that I used to work with, she had Oreo, because they didn't have any extra K when I called.
Okay. So when did you get home?
Was it even 2? I was talking
125?
So I was gone for literally 12 minutes.
And you went where?
Right up the road to next to that Chevron.
Oh, the 40 over here on, right here on
Right up the road, because I used to work at Bojangles, so I had a girl named Misty that.
I gotta borrow her for the K9. Okay, give me just a second. Yeah.
I had there's a girl named Misty that I used to work with who had dental problems as well, so I got in contact with her and asked her if she had Oreo, because when I called Circle K, they said they didn't have any.
Okay, did you notice anybody following you or anything?
I don't know.
Did you go back out at all any time of the time?
When I did get back, there was a car, which is why that lady mentioned it, whatever. I was thinking that maybe the car was for people across the street, but it was another little gray car sitting out front of the house.
Okay.
So I was thinking it was for across the street for the neighbors. So
So you said you got home about 1:30?
yes, it's 1:25 a.m. was the exact time that I got home. I was gone for a total of 12 minutes.
Okay, all right. Nobody followed me, right?
No.
Leilani's car was spotted on surveillance footage around 1 a.m. When questioned, Leilani explained that unbearable pain from her recent tooth extraction had forced her to leave the house to get Oragel from one of her ex-colleagues named Misty, who lived nearby. The two lead detectives on the scene decided to delve deeper, taking Leilani aside for a more detailed account of her movements on the previous night. Leilani recalled the events of the previous day when she had gotten her wisdom tooth pulled.
My mouth was really bothering me about almost 1 in the morning. I called Circle K to see if they had Oragel. No. So I got in contact with another one of my friends named Misty that I used to work with. Who has a lot of mouth problems, and asked her if she had any Oragel. I met her up there at the Chevron. And about called her and got back and went back home. Y'all, it's gone 12 minutes. I had it for my like 360. I can show y'all right around everything the time I left the house. I got back. Got home, had my mouth, checked on all the kids again. They were all good.
What time was that again?
It was 1:25. I looked at my app when they asked me to. Now I got home. And I was going 12 minutes. Literally what it showed.
As Leilani went through the timeline leading up to the incident, detectives learned that the house Leilani and Danny were staying in actually belonged to Leilani's mother, Billy Joe Howell, who was out of town at the time. They discovered that Howell had recently filed for full custody of Quinton and Leilani's eldest son, Zane, due to the couple's financial instability, along with other issues.
You have full custody of Quinton?
No, my mother does.
Okay.
I found myself in a very hard situation where my boyfriend at the time left me and I didn't have a job and my car broke down with me, so I didn't have transportation. So I voluntarily signed over temporary custody to my mother until I could get up on my feet. I've just now recently got to where at the end of this month we were supposed to be going to put money down in the house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for all of us. So after that happened, we were going to begin the process of getting me back to custody and legal rights.
And your mom lives with you?
That's her house that we were at.
Detectives also learned that Quinton's biological father was a man named Henry Moss, aka Bubba, with whom Leilani stated she had not spoken for months. Leilani and Bubba had broken up, but 3 months later, Leilani found out she was pregnant with Quinton. While speaking about Bubba, Leilani inadvertently handed her cell phone over to the detectives, a step that would corner her in the most shocking of ways.
Now is the new one that he recently sent me a friend request for, so I can see if I try to get in contact with him, but I'm blocked on that. We still have no contact, still have no numbers.
Are those still on your phone?
Huh?
Are those messages still on your phone, maybe?
I don't know if it's still on that phone. I have multiple different phones. I'm sending like 3 Facebooks.
Do you have your phones here?
They're
Okay. Do you mind if we get the password to your phone so we can look it up?
okay.
From that point on, the case began to take some unexpected turns for the detectives, who were in for a complex investigation to unravel the truth. In Leilani's cell phone, one particular text message stood out to the detectives, in which she texted Danny, "Gonna run to 204, I guess." Around that same time, GPS records showed she took another trip at around 10:30 p.m. on October 4th, something which also remained unmentioned in Leilani's own version of the timeline. This particular trip had taken her 2 miles away to the Chevron gas station, where Leilani frequently went to score drugs from her dealer. With 2 unmentioned trips in the timeline and the involvement of drugs, detectives were increasingly growing more suspicious of her. It was now time for them to sit down with Leilani for a more formal questioning.
Yeah, and I was already heading back by the time that.
So at 10:40, you texted him that you were returning on 204 to go meet with?
However, multiple text messages read by detectives on Leilani's phone contradicted her claims of not buying any sort of drugs that night. But Leilani had an answer ready for that query too. As the pressure mounted, Leilani began to act erratically, trying to convince the detectives she did not take Percocet that night.
No, I did not. I did not take a Percocet right now. This is not for you right now.
With Leilani's varying claims, detectives pressed forward with the investigation, cross-checking Leilani's whereabouts. The next person they questioned was Leilani's ex-coworker Melissa Bray, aka Misty, from whom she claimed to have obtained Oragel in the early hours of October 5th. Detectives located Melissa's trailer in the mobile home area of Azalea. A brief interview with Melissa shattered Leilani's story. She revealed that she hadn't seen Leilani in months. Moreover, Melissa went by the nickname Missy, not Misty. She zealously denied having met Leilani in the early morning hours of October 5th. Detectives knew they needed to confront Leilani once and for all, but before doing so, they turned their attention to CCTVs around the Chevron gas station and Azalea. The footage, when extracted from the security department, silently began to shape the course of Quinton's abduction case into something far more disturbing. On October 8th, 3 days after Quinton's disappearance, Leilani was once again called for an interrogation. However, this time, the unsettling truth would finally begin to surface, and disturbing secrets would come to light.
So your mom was 3, that's stressful, right? You had your wisdom teeth taken out, you're hurting, in pain, right? You still gotta cook dinner for the kids. My understanding, you and Daddy aren't getting along at night either, right? And sometimes people just get frustrated, right? And we do rash things, right? And things happen that we didn't mean to happen, right? And then we don't have to deal with that. And I know you know what happened.
I don't know.
And I know you know where Quentin is.
I don't know where he is.
Right?
I don't know where he
And
is.
here's why I know, right? Because the story that you already told law enforcement, that you've got that story in your mind, and you've been rehearsing it quite a while. I mean, you were like smiling when she told the other people, right? And we've already analyzed that. Your 360, right?
Yeah.
Your cell phone data,
Yeah.
right? Where you've been,
Yeah.
right? And there's inconsistencies who you talk to, right?
No.
Okay.
Not that I'm into.
All right. So we know you didn't go to the Chevron station.
Yeah, that was on the Life 360. It shows where I pulled it and
No.
turned around.
No, you didn't. But we know where you went.
It shows where I pulled it
We
and
know,
turned around.
we know where you went because we have video surveillance.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay. And it's not where the Chevron is.
It is. The Chevron is right next to
No,
it.
Leilani.
The detective tried to ease Leilani into opening up and coming clean. After all, the detectives had already seen the CCTV footage. At the odd hour of 1:10 a.m. on October 5th, Leilani's Dodge Journey was seen going from 535 Buckhalter Road toward the Azalea Mobile Home Plaza. The area was equipped with multiple CCTV cameras spaced out at regular intervals, allowing detectives to trace the vehicle's movements. They discovered that Leilani entered the Azalea complex and drove around in a loop. At around 1:16 a.m., Leilani's car was observed pulling up to a particular area. The car remained stationary for more than 2 minutes with its headlights on. What alarmed the detectives at this point was that the car had stopped near a dumpster. After 2 minutes at the dumpster, Leilani's car headed towards the one-way exit road retraced its path and headed back toward 535 Buckhalter Road. The suspicions surrounding Leilani deepened. It became increasingly evident that her trip was not about meeting anyone or searching for Oragel. The key questions lingered. Why had she driven to this area, and why had she stopped at the dumpster? The mystery needed to be unraveled, and detectives knew it was time to confront Leilani directly.
Stop. You've gone off this story for a while now, and I know it's not true.
It is.
Leilani,
That's what I'm waiting.
we're not going to make any progress
I
unless
understand, Jersey. I need this is Chevron. This is Zelia. That's where I pulled into. I turned around. I was only gone for 12 minutes. My baby was in that bed when I left that house.
Leilani, calm down. We're not getting anywhere, right? We're going to get to the bottom of this,
Yes.
right? But you have to be honest.
I'm being honest.
We know through video surveillance you were not at that Chevron, but we do know where you were at.
I pulled into the Zelia and I stopped her and got the orange. And I pulled around and I told her that it was right next to Chevron.
Leilani's story shifted once again. In her first interview, she had claimed that she met Misty at the Chevron gas station and even included this in her written statement. However, when the detective disclosed the presence of CCTV cameras near the Chevron, Leilani quickly modified her story and now claimed that she met Misty at an unspecified location next to Chevron.
Pulled in, got the Oragel, turned around, and went back home.
And how did you turn around?
I pulled straight around the neighborhood.
What neighborhood?
The one right next to Chevron. It's Zelia. Right next to it.
Azalea? And
Yes.
what kind of neighborhood is that?
It's a trailer park.
It's a trailer park.
Yes.
Okay. And when you were in the trailer park, you pulled right back out.
Yes. I pulled it in and I pulled it out.
Okay, so why does video surveillance show you stopping
Stopping to get that Oragel.
within the trailer park?
Getting the Oragel.
You're not near the Chevron.
No, because she lives in the Chevron. Pulled in and Misty, the one who gave me, I gave her as much information.
Well, let's talk about that, okay? Because Misty hadn't talked to you.
Yeah, she has.
She hasn't talked to you in quite some time.
Yeah, she
Yes,
has.
she did not have a conversation with you about the origin.
Yes.
So in your mind, you've looked at all these timestamps and plausibly came up with a story that is partly true.
No, that is true.
But there's very, very many missing pieces, right? And in your story, you haven't been completely honest about where you were at and why you were there.
I was 100% honest about where I was at. I showed the Life 360. I told him I even gave him the Oragel that she gave me.
Right, and that didn't happen. We've already interviewed this.
I got the Oragel. That did happen. She got that lump inside her mouth. And that's the reason why I asked her for it.
You have to stop saying this. It did not happen.
Yes, it did.
Right? And Lonnie, right? To get through this, you're gonna have to talk about what happened
At this point, the detective was ready to hone in on a critical detail.
and where you took Quentin.
I didn't take Quinton anywhere.
Okay?
I didn't take him anywhere. He was at the house. He was in that bed. I was just here. I was just safety bar in the bed. The only thing that I sit there and possibly blame myself on is when I came back in after I smoked a cigarette that I may not have shut that door all the way. And then someone maybe may have gone somewhere. It's the only thing I've been questioning myself about. I was sleeping. I had drugs in my system. I couldn't even feel my mouth. So I don't know if I locked that door and pushed it all the way in, but it was open when I got up. And I'm sticking to everything that I'm saying because I'm telling the truth.
The door was closed.
No, that's what they say, but the door is open. And Danny said that when he left that the door,
Right.
that door that they said was open from 2:30 to 5:44 was shut when he left. I think my system is messed up. And that's what I told them because that door was open when I got up in my bed and I in that bed.
The messed up system Leilani just mentioned was actually something called American District Telegraph, aka ADT security system, which is installed on the house to keep track of when the various doors of a house are opened and closed. This system is typically used to assist in cases of thefts and burglaries. Fortunately, the 535 residence where Quinton disappeared from also had an ADT security system installed, and its records for October 5th lay at the detective's table. The records showed that on the morning of October 5th, after Danny had left the house for work at 5:47 a.m., the front door of the house opened for the first time at 9:22 a.m. This not only contradicted Leilani's earlier claim that the door was already open before she woke up, but also exposed another shocking detail. Leilani had called Danny at 9:14 a.m. to tell him about Quinton, but the front door actually opened at 9:22 a.m., 8 minutes after her first call about Quinton being missing.
Leilani, the door wasn't open.
Yes, it was.
And look,
Yes, it was. The door was open.
you said like you would never hurt or harm
No.
Quinton.
No, I wouldn't.
And in this circumstance, something happened,
No.
right?
No, I did not. Nothing happened when he was in my care. I did not hurt him. I did not take him anywhere. I went to bed with that baby in the bed and I got up with him gone. Okay?
Okay.
I am devastated. I'm seeing every question. Now that last night my own husband was questioning me, making me question myself. Well, did you shut that door? Are you sure you're not the reason that something could have happened? I mean, it's all stuff like that.
Well, you keep telling yourself this story over and over. We're done with that story, right? And you keep trying to convince yourself that the evidence is not pointing to that, right? You try to put a timeline together to cover up
I had tried nothing together.
what happened that night, and you're the only one that can tell us what happened.
Despite these mounting contradictions, Leilani remained defiant. Her erratic behavior escalated as she demanded that detectives accept her version of events, further testing their patience and complicating the investigation.
We just want to find Quinton,
Yes,
right?
we do. We all do. I've been asking help searching everything.
And they have been. They're still out there searching, right? But you can help us find him. I 100% believe that. You can help us find
He
him.
was in the bed of my
Okay.
sleep.
So when you left and you drove through the trailer park and you stopped for a while,
I just stopped for a while.
what was going through your mind?
Let's come to remind, get the seat, get the order jobs. I did speak to her and I did get order down.
So you did not talk to Missy.
Yes, I did.
We've already talked about that.
I spoke to you.
And until you start being 100% honest with me, you're going down the same road, okay? We're not getting anywhere. You said you wanted to be helpful.
I do. That's why I've done everything I can and I don't know where my baby is. Okay, I don't know.
Right? So
I did not hurt him and I don't know where he's at. He was in that bed when I woke up.
Leilani was directly confronted about Quinton's presence inside her car that night, but adamantly stuck to her story that she had only left the house to get Oragel. Detectives pressed on, determined to uncover the horrific truth they believed she was concealing behind her increasingly fragile facade.
So, what we do know is that when you pulled into the trailer park, you stopped. Right? I can't imagine what was going through your mind at that time, right? Where you were trying to make a decision.
No, I stopped for, I was gone from the house for a total of 12 minutes. I stopped for 2 minutes and I was getting the organs from her,
Right?
pulled around, and there she was.
You didn't see Missy.
Yes, I did.
You stopped for 2 minutes, so in that 2 minutes, you weren't getting Oragel for Missy.
Yes.
I know you were sitting there thinking about what you were doing with Quinton.
No, I was
So
not.
this is something that already happened.
No, it was not. That baby was in that bed when I went to bed. Danny seen him when he left to go to work. Okay? So no, he was home. He was in that bed. He was asleep.
Right. And we both know that's not true.
He is true. And he was home.
Yeah.
He was even Danny. Even he said he seen him before he went to work. So I don't understand how that could not be true. Or how I could have done something to him. Like, what? 1 something in the morning? That's literally physically impossible when he was seen that morning.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
I don't know about my baby.
So Danny told us that he can't 100% confirm that he actually saw Quinton in the crib that morning.
So he told me that he 100% said he's seen him.
He's told us that he cannot say that. Right?
He was in
And,
that bed.
and that's different than the first night, right? You guys talked to the police because you put that in your statement.
Yeah, so that he told me 100% that he seen him that morning.
He cannot 100% say that he saw Quinton that morning. And so that leaves another hole in your story, right?
No, that's what he told me. That he got a phone call and he was screaming and yelling, "Where's my baby?
I'm telling you
Where's my
right now,
baby?"
that's not the case. Because we know that you know what happened.
I do not know what happened to
Well,
him.
you do,
I don't.
right?
I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know why he would be gone. He was in that bed when I went to sleep, and when I got up, he was gone. I was freaking
many times as you repeat that story, it doesn't make it true.
It is true.
It's not true.
It is.
Right? And you just talk about how much you love your
I do. I love them all, but that is true.
And you want to help us find Quinton.
Yes.
And you can do that.
I'm trying.
Right?
I'm trying. I'm just trying to get my phone. I'm just trying to that's property because I have been. I do not know where my baby is. And I wish I did because he'd be right here.
Right.
He really would.
While one might expect Leilani to display extreme emotional distress over Quinton's disappearance and the intense questioning, her persistent contradictions and denial only fueled the detective's resolve to press her further.
Nobody thinks you're a horrible person.
Because I didn't hurt him. I didn't do anything. I didn't take him anywhere. That baby was at that house all night long. And I know.
But given circumstances, things happen, and we don't mean for them to. Okay? Doesn't make you a horrible person.
I just see that
It makes you a human being.
I didn't hurt him, and I don't know where he's at, and I want him home. I just don't know. I did not hurt him. I did not take him nowhere. The last time he was in that car was when I picked him up at 4:30 in the afternoon.
And as a mother, going through this, like I said, sometimes things happen and we don't mean for them to. It doesn't mean anything was done intentionally. But like I said, you were going through a lot that night.
I didn't hurt my baby.
Okay.
I don't know where he is.
And
That's
being
what
like, so listen, being in that situation, sometimes people panic.
That's my final answer to y'all's question. I did not hurt him. I do not know where he was. And the last person that told me that he 100% seen him in that bed when I called him and asked him where Quinton was Danny. That's my last thing I've got to say. Their story has not changed. I gave out everything that I could. I've gone through this over and over and over and over and over.
And I'm trying to explain to you that there's inconsistencies in your story.
But I've shown everything.
And
Everything.
it doesn't add up. It really doesn't.
It's because there's a piece of the puzzle missing, but it's not me.
It's you.
It's not.
It's absolutely.
It's not me.
It is absolutely. And you can repeat that over and over and over again. It doesn't make it true.
It's not me. It's not me. I'm not true anything with it.
Leilani clung stubbornly to her version of events. Yet on the other hand, there was still no trace of Quinton, despite an exhaustive and focused search. Early indications that Quinton might have been abducted from the house had now been all but ruled out at this point. 7 days later, on October 12, 2022, Chatham County Police announced their devastating conclusion that Quinton was believed to be deceased. They named his mother, Leilani Simon, as the prime suspect, suspecting she had killed him in the dead of night, disposing of his tiny body like a piece of trash. As local officers struggled to extract a confession from Leilani, the FBI took over the interrogation process. Employing a more measured and strategic approach, their efforts began to shift the trajectory of the case.
You did a phenomenal job providing just a tremendous amount of detail that's been helpful for us throughout this entire process.
Pretty soon into the interview, cracks in Leilani's story began to show, as she started backtracking on her earlier claims one by one.
And I didn't want to put my judges out there. That's understandable. I was on purpose. I did. It was good. Yeah, I did. And that's part of what I did do. When I would go get me back with friend, I just told the truth about me.
In this unintelligible chunk, Leilani just told the officers that she was on Percocet on the night of October 4th, and that she had actually gone to 204 to meet her dealer to purchase the pills. She also disclosed that she met her dealer at Arkwright Lane, and not where she previously claimed to have met him. Sensing an opportunity to further uncover the truth, detectives skillfully steered the conversation to the Misty and Origel narrative. They revealed that there was no record of any calls between Leilani and the local convenience store Circle K, effectively dismantling another piece of her story.
She's really right there towards the front.
No, just I want you to just Missy has no recollection at all And she did not, and there's no communication. There's no communication between you or Missy on Missy's phone or on your phone about anything.
You get different phone numbers, it changes over a certain amount of time. The numbers that change on its phone. You know, especially when I'm paying for it. So that would be part of the reason that I get some improvement and that time to call.
Just tell me exactly how you drove into the trailer park, how you drove in, and where Missy's house is.
And then driving down Missy's house is one of the very first houses on the right hand side. So I walk in, she walked up, and pull on.
So you went to Missy's house, and did you go inside her house? She was just standing
I just
outside.
stand inside.
Okay.
Trying to drive into it.
Yeah, I was trying to run. Like I knew the police hit me.
How long did y'all interact with Missy home?
2-3 minutes. It was a quick little conversation. I can't really run out her mouth doing so.
Once again, Leilani stubbornly stuck to her version of events, but detectives could sense that she was nearing her breaking point.
She's got to understand. She's a practice. 100% truthful. 100%. This is the only way that we're going to figure it out. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because
It's a lot of long way off the
so, did you get any word about that?
I didn't know what that
Did
was.
you get word
But I found it and the card was one of the ones that I lost. And I found it when I got back to the house.
The detective's methodical and patient questioning ultimately led Leilani to abandon parts of her fabricated story, admitting that she had not seen Missy that night after all. Detectives then carefully approached another key detail, Leilani's 2-minute stop at the dumpster in Azalea. Getting slowly entangled in the wordplay, Leilani finally admitted that she did stop by the dumpster.
And you did mention some money from the trash. Yeah, I did from the trash. And Stan was supposed to take trash out a few days ago and there was spoiled food all over my car. So I pulled around and spent my gas out of the trash. And it was ports, like shrimp pasta.
Shrimp pasta.
Yeah. The whole car smelled like shrimp. It was not a wait. Yeah, because I got in there, I was like, what is that smell? I felt that before, even though I go to 204. Yeah. You know, I felt that before, and I'm like, get out of the car. And I'm like, I leave this Glade trash bags. Okay, I was like, that Glade gray trash bags.
So, did you stop anywhere else at all?
I went straight back home, and that's when
Leilani told detectives that she had thrown away a trash bag containing stinking shrimp pasta from her car at the Azalea dumpster, and then returned straight home. This was yet another detail that had not been previously disclosed. When questioned about why she hadn't mentioned it earlier, Leilani claimed she thought it was a minor and insignificant detail. Despite her explanation, detectives were deeply skeptical. They strongly suspected that the trash bag contained Quinton, whether alive or deceased, rather than spoiled food. They tried to corner her about the reality of what was in the trash bag, but Leilani remained adamant that it was just discarded leftovers. In the end, Leilani also confessed to being a cocaine user when she was asked about rapidly changing scenes and details in her stories since her initial interview.
You had cocaine. What was that?
However, when the detectives turned their focus back to Quinton and pressed her for answers, Leilani fell silent, refusing to provide any information, simply stating that she didn't know anything about his disappearance. After the third interview, the dumpster at Azalea became a critical focal point for the authorities. Detectives were able to identify the specific waste management company, Waste Pro, that was responsible for trash collection in that area. However, it had been over a week since the garbage trucks had made their rounds, dumping the contents in the Savannah landfill. Despite the daunting challenge this posed, investigators knew that sifting through the landfill was the only way to proceed in the investigation. On October 18, 2022, the Chatham County Police Department announced a massive search operation through literal tons of trash in hopes of finding some of little Quinton's remains.
Now, 22 days later, this is 2 weeks of that search at the landfill with nothing more from police about what they may have found so far and if there is more they are still looking for.
More than 100 law enforcement personnel and volunteers came together in an attempt to find the proverbial needle in a haystack. The trash, which had already been compacted by machinery to create more storage space, made the task even more overwhelming. The extensive search operation continued tirelessly, day and night, led by a dedicated team of heroes. By this point, the case had captured national attention. In the meantime, Leilani and her mother, Billie Jo Howell, appeared on a news channel to make a public appeal for Quinton's return.
I'm here. I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
However, tensions escalated when a heated video surfaced between Howell and Quinton's babysitter, Michelle Marcia, in which Howell expressed her suspicions about Michelle's possible involvement in Quinton's disappearance.
Don't put nothing in your yard.
Oh, I had.
This is my baby, not yours.
That's your right, but I
That's
text
my
you.
baby.
I text you and I told you what
That's
was
my
going
baby.
on.
Oh, so now it's my fault. You need to go get it.
Your entire family, keep recording.
Don't take my phone.
Keep recording.
Don't take my phone.
Good,
Yeah,
you were
okay,
wrong.
all this on social
You were wrong.
media.
I begged you to help. I begged you to help. Put that on social media. I begged you to help.
Oh yeah, and I got
begged you to help.
I text you.
I said, hey, Michelle, please get the
Yeah,
kids.
you're a liar.
Take them out. Good, because you're awful to say you're going to put a memorial. My baby's not dead.
You are a liar.
My baby's not
You are a
dead.
liar.
My baby's not
You are
dead.
dead.
I thought you were a woman of God.
I am.
You got Quinton?
You're the one that-
Do you have Quinton?
I don't have Quinton. You're the one
Maybe
that
you
texted
do.
me.
Maybe you do. You got him.
Okay.
You got
In an interesting turn of events around this time, Leilani did something completely unexpected during the ongoing landfill search. One of the lead detectives received a random text from Leilani Simon, in which she tried to frame Danny as the one who went out on the night of Quinton's disappearance. However, her message seemed more like a desperate and ill-thought-out attempt, as it lacked any credible or supporting details, raising further suspicions about her involvement in the case. After a whole month of digging into the massive landfill, on November 18, 2022, workers made the grim discovery that the authorities had feared. Inside a partially torn trash bag, they found the skull, bones, and decomposed tissues of a toddler. The horrific discovery sickened the investigators and the forensic scientist who examined the remains. Forensic reports were able to confirm that the remains were of Quinton. For the final time, detectives gave Leilani a chance to reveal the truth. When she knew she had no way out, Leilani resorted to blaming her grisly actions on her abuse of drugs and claimed that she had no memory of hurting Quinton. On November 21, 2022, Leilani Simon was arrested on 1 charge of malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, 1 count of concealing the death of another, 1 count of making a false report, and 14 counts of passing on false information. Throughout the investigation, detectives not only uncovered crucial leads from Leilani's cell phone, but also gained insight into her recent past and, moreover, into her character. The evidence gathered from Leilani's cell phone helped them understand what had mattered most to Leilani in the months leading up to Quinton's death, and equally telling, what seemed to not matter to her at all. In multiple text messages sent to Danny, Leilani portrayed an emotionally upset and depressed woman who desperately wanted all of Danny's attention. At one point, the situation had apparently gotten so bad that Leilani threatened to unalive herself.
I can't love myself. I have tried over and over and over and I failed. I screamed for help and I don't get it. And Danny, I loved you. I loved you with all of me, all of my heart. I loved you. And even now, after everything that I faced has
before? If you truly loved me like you claimed you did, you wouldn't have done all that. Even when I was carrying your child and hating myself every day, crying myself to sleep every night because you did not want to have sex with me. You did not want to love me. You just did not want me. You couldn't love me. You couldn't do me right. So please, for the love of God, do my kids right.
Babysitter Michelle also came forward with an audio recording that captured a bit of Leilani's intense anger towards Quinton.
You think that we've had problems before? Watch. Because all it takes is one person with one picture to make one phone call, and I probably just lose all of them.
With all these character traits coming to light, it was easy to imagine a disturbing endpoint. Detectives and prosecutors believed that while Leilani was high on drugs, she had beaten Quinton to death. On October 14, 2024, the trials commenced for the murder of Quinton Simon. Leilani's defense based their side on a belief that the prosecution lacked any solid evidence and that their claims were mostly based on emotions rather than hard facts.
This whole case is about rumor, gossip, speculation and innuendo, and ultimately the state's bold conclusions about what they say happened but can't prove. Unquestionably, this is an emotional case. I know that. I have 5 children, 4 grandchildren. So I understand how emotional this can be. But this case can't be decided based on emotions. It has to be decided on facts and evidence presented in this courtroom.
But Assistant District Attorney Tim Dean opened with a powerful 2-hour-long statement, leaving no detail uncovered. He covered the entire 1.5-month timeline from October 4th, when Leilani got her tooth pulled out, to the day she was arrested. Each of Leilani's inconsistent stories was presented to the jury, along with explanations of how they quickly unraveled and contradicted each other. The prosecution, led by Dean, meticulously presented the evidence gathered through the thorough investigation, which exposed Leilani's lies and her desperate attempts to conceal the truth of her actions. Among the witnesses, Melissa Bray, aka Missy, who apparently became Misty in Leilani's version, and on whom much of her story relied upon, clarified the truth through her own words.
What nickname or nicknames do you have?
Missy.
Missy?
Missy.
M-I-S-S-Y?
Exactly.
Anybody ever call you Misty with a T?
No.
And at that time, about how long had it been since you had last seen her?
I'm guessing roughly around maybe a month or so. Roughly.
It had maybe been roughly a month?
Roughly, yeah.
Melissa stated that the last time she had seen Leilani was more than a month prior to Quinton's disappearance, when Leilani pulled over by her home to ask for gas.
Did you ever have any in-person contact with her after that?
No.
Okay, and again, this all happened in like July of 2022?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The next witness, Michelle Marcia, who babysat Quinton and Leilani's 2 other children, made bold statements about her experiences with Leilani. In her testimony, Michelle shared her view of what kind of mother Leilani was to her toddler son.
You said that Quinton would spend the night sometimes. Would both the boys spend the night or just Quinton?
Zane stayed a handful of times. Quinton stayed a lot.
And why is that? Why would Quinton stay overnight?
Honestly, Quinton loved us. He was close to us. And I just felt like he would be better off at our house because there was a difference in the love she showed between Zane and Quinton. And I felt bad, and I would work, and my daughter would say, "Can we just get him, Mom, because this happened today?" And I would say, "Yeah, call her and ask her if he can stay."
Can you think of some examples of how the defendant treated the boys differently?
Well, she was working at Bojangles, and she had brought food home,
and she fed Quinton loved food, and every time he seen a bag, he would want it. He's little. She would feed Zane before she fed Quinton, every time. And I just thought that was strange.
Did she ever, in that conversation, did she explain more about, like, Zane had been through things with her?
Yes,
or anything
that
like
Zane had been her ride or die his whole life. And she did not like Quinton's father.
Another shocking revelation that surfaced during the investigation was that, despite Leilani's claims of being emotionally distressed about her strained relationship with Danny, she was engaged in a physical relationship with her drug dealer, Craig. Text messages found on her phone provided undeniable evidence, which significantly strengthened the prosecution's case against her.
At 12:17 a.m., Leilani initiates a phone call for 19 seconds with Craig. And then at 12:21 a.m., Craig says, "Door open." Then skipping to 1:22 a.m., the previous was at 12:21. So the last one was at 1:22, where she's saying, "I'm home, I loved those hugs." The following message is from Craig at 1:26 a.m., and it says, "Okay, not more than I did. I was about to grab that kitty one time."
One of the lead detectives of the case revealed that Leilani was out drinking the night investigators announced the landfill search for Quinton's body, and while in jail, she had been in a pen pal relationship with a convicted child molester. Leilani's emotional state leading up to the incident, along with testimonies revealing her mistreatment of Quinton, reinforced the prosecution's theory that, while under the influence of drugs, her pent-up anger erupted, making Quinton a victim of her volatile behavior. The defense struggled to mount a strong argument against the overwhelming evidence, leaving little room for doubt in the minds of the jury. After 10 days of trial on October 25, 2024, the jury returned their verdict. Leilani Simon was found guilty of all 14 counts. In an emotional moment at the end of trial, the daughter of Quinton's babysitter took the stand and told Judge Tammy Stokes that the 20-month-old was like family. "I'm missing him every day, not waking up to see Quinton, not being able to go get Quinton no more." 1 month later, on November 21, 2024, Judge Tammy Stokes sentenced Leilani to life in prison, with an additional 10 years. The real truth about what Leilani actually did to her innocent baby remains shrouded in mystery, which is what makes this case even more terrifying. When Quinton is seen in rare images captured during his short life, the heart sickens to imagine what torment he may have endured that night. Billie Jo Howell, Leilani's mother, had hoped to gain full custody of Quinton by filing a petition in September 2022, but fate had different plans. Billie Jo put her residence up for sale after Leilani was sent to prison for good, closing a painful chapter in her life. Despite the tragic circumstances surrounding Quinton's life, there were those who truly cared for him. Michelle, his babysitter, was one of the few people who consistently showed love and affection to Quinton. She had a bond with him that was full of care, unlike the toxic environment he was surrounded by at home. Quinton found solace and joy in Michelle's presence, and in those brief moments, he was loved and cherished.